Hello, welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm your host, Nikki Wallman. 2 weeks before Naava Piatka passed away, she was still sharing memories of her Holocaust survivor parents, Naava Piatka and Chayela Rosenthal. Numerous conversations over many years allowed both father and daughter to experience a renewed understanding of one another, which culminated in compassion, forgiveness, and Naava's book, No Goodbyes.
Well, the story of writing my father's book began more than a decade ago when I realized that he was an aging parent and not getting younger and certainly looking closer to death. And I had not known his stories. He was a Holocaust survivor, as was my mother, who had died when I was 28, a long time ago. And I realized I needed to hear the stories. Otherwise, if he goes, I wouldn't have known the details of what happened to them in the war. So every summer he would come to Boston and we'd sit by my pool outside and he would tell me the stories of his life. And I was interested not so much in the horrors and terrible things that happened to him, but my focus was more about how did he remain true to his humanity? How did he still learn to love and carry on and be resilient in the face of all the adversities that happened to him? And also find out about his life beforehand. What was his life before the Holocaust versus after the Holocaust? And so we began this amazing journey together of telling stories, and he was a master raconteur. My father brought everything alive in his stories.
We must rush even faster, faster, my father says. They used their rifles to push us, hitting those who could not keep up the tempo. I remember my lungs feeling about to explode. My body ached and my legs felt numb, but I kept moving, with Malinka assisting me. I could hear his voice behind me, repeating my name in his deep voice, giving me words of encouragement to keep going. Go, go, you can make it. Just a few more steps. Hold on, hold on. Soon we'll be free, my friend. Soon we'll be free. Both my parents were born in Poland. My father was born with the name Israel Yutan, and my mother was born with the name Chayela Rosenthal. My mother was an up-and-coming star. She was a singer and a performer, an actress on stage, and she used to perform in leading roles in her school productions. And when my mother was in the Vilna ghetto, she performed much against many authorities' permission, because they said, how can you perform in a graveyard? You don't sing in a graveyard. But there were a lot of people who really wanted to be entertained, to have some light and some music and song. And so she became known as the Wunderkind of the Vilna ghetto. They met only after the war. Both my parents became Holocaust victims, but luckily were Holocaust survivors. So my parents came to South Africa after the war, and my sister was born. She had a lot of expectations put on her as the firstborn child of survivors, and she had a burning desire to always tell the story about her parents. My mom died when I was 19. She was stricken with ovarian cancer, and at the time when she became ill, my sister had immigrated to America, and she was pregnant with her firstborn child. Unfortunately, in the day, my mother had the superstition that because my sister was pregnant, she mustn't be upset. And so she insisted that we not tell my sister that she had cancer. And she died on September 1st in 1979. At that point still, my sister knew nothing, and it was up to me to phone her and to tell her that unfortunately Mom had passed away. She understood this was Mom's thing, and it didn't impact our relationship at all, but it added to the silence and the no goodbyes, which ended up being the title of her book. Everyone has a story that is yet to be told. Every life is a journey with many chapters to unfold. Naava choosing the title No Goodbyes had a lot of meaning. It was extremely appropriate because in our family history there were many no goodbyes. The turnaround came for Naava, who was putting a twist on the title because she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she was determined to put an end to the no goodbyes. And so she made a point of saying all her goodbyes to all her loved ones. And as she says, there are no goodbyes, they are just forever. And what you've seen, unfortunately, my father passed away before my sister finished the book. And the book that she wrote is a father-daughter memoir, and she writes it in two voices, one from her point of view and as a relationship, the father-daughter relationship that they had, and then the other part in his voice where he tells the story of his past, and she weaves it all together. And in doing so, the whole process of writing the book was cathartic for her and for their relationship. So it's so important to tell the story of your life, and as parents to tell your stories to your children so that they become more understanding, more compassionate, but they also know the meaning of your life. In the process of her writing and gathering, in the last few months of her illness, I was with her, and if we were ever close before, we became closer and closer in those last 4 months. We would sit, she was bedridden for much of the time, and so together we worked side by side, regardless of her pain and suffering, to get this book done. And she was pretty much amazingly alive till the very, very end, which was pretty awesome. After a long pause, my father says, "You know, in talking to you about all that happened to me and recalling these events from my youthful years, I realized that my young days in Vilna were days of wonder. I see now what I did not see so clearly before. Yeah, my life is cause for celebrating and rejoicing. Lessons to be learned, sometimes over and over again." Biggest lesson I learned from my sister. Oh my goodness, there are too many. I think to grab hold of life, to do everything you want to be doing, to be giving, to be nurturing, to be compassionate, but to live every moment. She was a big one for sharing the joy, telling your story, expressing yourself and your love for everyone.
Stay with the love, get rid of the judgment, let go. Let go of all your demands and your expectations of how you think things should be, of your parents, of your children, of your lovers, of people in your family. Just let really all those songs that John Lennon and all the other greats who've passed over wrote about, let it be. Love is all there is. So that's my message, I guess.
And you will live forever in the hearts and in the minds of those you leave behind as a smile.